Hello and welcome back to the game room. You know what I love? Video games. You know what I love? Talking about games. And it seems like a lot of people these days who cover games seem to hate them. Or at least the people who play them. Well, that's not me, and that's not the 5,064 of you beautiful people checking out this video here today. Another banner week. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to answer a couple of comments I saw last week, one of which was asking where on earth I got these controller holders. So they're actually headphone holders. I can't remember the exact brand. I'm going to look through. I know I had a little staple card or something because my wife actually bought these for me back in 2020, and then I bought another 4 of them, I want to say 2 years ago. But yes, if you look up headphone holders, they just self-adhere. They're great, like command strip type things, and they work really well. I've only had to press them back to the wall one time in 5 years because some of them started to slip because it gets pretty hot up here, but that's about it. But yes, a banner week. Another comment I saw was I should lose the 2-minute intro. Yeah, I know, but also I kind of don't mind it if I have people that are willing to put up with these things, since, you know, I'm not trying to cull my audience, but there's also, if that's something that people are not going to subscribe over, then hey, you know what? I'm not chasing the trends. If you like me, you like me. And today we are taking a look again at the Switch library. We got another 10 games. There's some pretty dirt common ones this time, but there's also some unique ones as well. For the 13th time, if that sounds interesting to you, let's check it out. There's a lot of games out there, some of which you've never even heard of. That's where I come in. My name's Luke. I've been playing games since the age of 2, and I have no life.
This is my game room.
So the first one I want to talk about today is a fun one of the most unique games to come out on the Switch, especially in 2018. Nintendo was throwing a lot of stuff at the wall. You had Labo come out, which looked awful, but then you had this surprise RPG adventure that also involves exercise. Not just exercise, like real world exercise. Kind of the second coming of Wii Fit, and that is Ring Fit Adventure. So the box is huge because it comes with this little ring thing you put around your body, you put the Joy-Cons in it, and then you actually will do squats or move around or this or that within the game. And I knew a few people who were playing this pretty heavily when it first came out and actually were getting a damn decent workout out of it, as well as it was surprisingly hard to come by for a while. So there was a time where this got very expensive. I want to say this was a gift from my in-laws for Christmas the year it came out, and it was super unexpected. I still don't know how they found it, but at that time it was very, very pricey. Prices have come down on it, but it's one of those weird things that actually, as unique as it is, it's worth having. Kind of the way the Guitar Hero guitars have had a resurgence in recent years because there was so many of them, and unlike Guitar Hero, there's not as many of these ring fits out there. So if that looks interesting to you, grab it. When it originally came out, I think it was $80, and it got up like around $150 or so, but super cool, and one of those things where there's not many times you can be playing a game and getting exercise out of it. And this one's just fun. And I like the style of game it is. It's not for everybody, but you genuinely, it's not going to be the best workout you're going to get, but it's a hell of a lot better than any other game. So there's that too. So if that's one that you've been on the fence about, definitely go grab it. That's one that's going to get harder to find, especially if you want it in the box. So moving on to my other big box game. So this was, once again, in 2017, I was highly invested in seeing the Switch succeed. So I was jumping on all the damn collector's editions. I missed out on the Zelda Breath of the Wild ones. So I had to jump on this one when it came out that September, I want to say, or December of 2017. And that was Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the special edition. What made it so special art book stuff that honestly I don't care about. Though this is a really cool box that has a holographic cover. It came with a steelbook, which I don't even like steelbooks, which I've said before. I have debated selling this too, because it's gotten up around $200 plus, as Xenoblade fans are crazy. And why I picked it up when it came out, which I think it was $100 brand new or $120, is that I knew how hard the original Xenoblade was to find on the Wii. I bought it when it was like around $80, $100, and then of course they re-released it everywhere, and even the Wii copies went down in price. And what are you gonna do? Sometimes you miss out, or you lose out, or you buy something and then it goes down. Not that I mind, because once again I don't sell any of this stuff, but it is annoying when you could have gotten something for $30 as opposed to almost $100. But I digress. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was really the game that it didn't necessarily put the series on the map, but because the Switch was doing so well, it really helped solidify the Switch as something special. Because the first year of the Switch was astronomical. You had Breath of the Wild starting it off strong. In my opinion, Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle was a very, very strong third-party support title that people did not see coming, that was not your traditional Nintendo fare. You had Super Mario Odyssey, which was the second coming of Mario 64, and then you drop this monolith soft RPG that's very, very cool. It is a sequel to a really, really not played game, but really well-known game that people heard about. You know, more people know about Xenoblade Chronicles for being good than they've actually played it. And so Xenoblade Chronicles 2 had a massive amount of people looking at it, including myself. I've gone on record of stating I don't really love the combat. It's the same reason why I was not a huge fan of Ys 8. I just can't get I'm spoiled or just corrupted by World of Warcraft. It's why I have trouble with some of the PS2 era games, Final Fantasy 12, those kind of things. I need to give it a better shot, I will self-admit, but it's just I can't stand active combat in a non-action game setting. Well, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it when your computer-controlled allies have gambits and this and that, and you have to monitor them, worry about this. I've talked about it to death. But a game that's highly collectible. It also has a DLC that was standalone. I think it's called Xenoblade Chronicles Golden Torna or something like that. But Xenoblade 2 is still pretty pricey out there, even the non-special edition. And just grab them. I mean, we'll eventually talk about all the Xenoblades. I have all of them on the Switch, other than the first one, ironically. But yes, we'll put a pause in that. Speaking of special editions, this was another 2017 release. It was not the series proper like I was hoping for, but it was a nice stopgap, and it was the first game in this style that I ever played, and that was the Fire Emblem Warriors game, and this is the special edition, which what was so special about this? I think it was just more art books, more things like that. There was a character card. This one luckily didn't come with a steel book. And also there was a music CD set, though because it's the Warrior series, you know, kind of like Dynasty Warriors instead of the regular Fire Emblem. Yeah, the music is largely the same. But I never played one of these games. I've always seen them. I've been intrigued by them. And honestly, after playing one of them, I was cool off of it. You know, I didn't pick up Hyrule Warriors. I didn't pick up Age of Calamity either. I did get the Fire Emblem Three Hopes, the kind of pseudo sequel to this. It's just another Dynasty Warriors game because once again, vote with your wallet. I love Fire Emblem. I will buy anything that has the Fire Emblem name on it. Day one, full price. If there's a special edition, I'll consider it. I didn't get the one on Engage, and I kind of regret it. But yes, Fire Emblem Warriors is a fun, turn-your-brain-off type of game. It follows along with sort of a pseudo-storyline that, once again, once Awakening came out and started bringing back legacy characters, all the Fire Emblems started pulling this stuff out of their ass, basically, and this one kind of did the same thing. Though it was fun, and it was enjoyable, and getting to play as some of the classic characters, I believe Marth and some of the others are in this, and just going around laying waste to people is pretty damn cool. I think it also largely focuses around Fates, if I remember. I think Fire Emblem Fates is kind of the backdrop of this. Yes, because you have Marth, Chrom, you have some of the people from Fates that are prominently put in this, because it was shortly after Fates came out, if I recall. Okay, so that's it for the special editions on today's video. Moving on to the next one, let's talk about a game that was very prominent a couple of years ago. It really set a new precedent in the 2D Mario series, and that is Super Mario Wonder. Yeah, I know, this, like I said, there's going to be some basic things. Yes, this one's never going to be super pricey. They made him to death, but also, it's a Mario game, and it's never really going down in value. What makes this game so cool is that they finally managed to escape from that new Super Mario Brothers formula, which, as much as I enjoyed the original one on the DS, and as much as I enjoyed the original one on the Wii, it always seemed a little bit too multiplayer focused and a little bit too collectibles focused, so that Donkey Kong Country, that Yoshi's Island DNA really infected it in my opinion. Even simple things like the wall jumping, the feel of it, just, I wanted more traditional Mario 3, Super Mario World, that kind of feel. And this game pretty much delivered on it in spades, I would say. And it also was largely influenced by Super Mario Maker. So one of the fun things when Super Mario Maker came out on the Wii U is the people at Nintendo were like, wow, there are some ideas in this game people came up with that we never thought of. Let's go ahead and steal them, put them in a game, and then charge you for it. Okay, they didn't say it that way, but that's more or less what it did, is we beta tested a bunch of Mario ideas, and hey, I'm all for it, why not? And it worked out pretty damn well. The hook of Mario Wonder is largely that each stage has a alternate way of interacting with it if you find a Wonder Seed. So you can go through it, standard 2D side-scrolling Mario, but if you find a Wonder Seed, then all hell will break loose. The background, the foreground, you'll go into a side area, it completely throws everything out the window, as well as provides justification for doing that, so that it doesn't feel like you're just throwing something at the wall and seeing if it sticks. Instead, hey, you know what? Well, those hills in the background, suddenly those things are stepping stones, and Mario can jump on them and jump super high up. Or, hey, we're in the ocean and getting chased by fish, and now there's giant seals going everywhere and waves, and it's just fun. It's dumb fun. It's Nintendo through and through. It's exactly why we play these kind of games, and I loved it. As much as I thought the 2D Mario series had kind of stagnated when the large innovations had been in the 3D side, especially looking at you, Mario Odyssey, Super Mario Wonder really showed that, okay, the fate of 2D Mario is not locked in, and there's a lot of good things coming from it, and it was fun. It was fun. It captured a lot of that original essence of, I mean, truly, this is a sequel to Super Mario World more than anything, unlike the other games ever were, because once again, it seemed like the focus of those were largely to make them drop in, drop out multiplayer, kind of the way they had the second player used in Mario Galaxy, and I'm glad they moved away from that and finally focused on just the pure gameplay aspect of it. Alright, this one we're going to talk about is a little bit of a cheat because it's not all on the disc, but hey, it's in my collection and it fills a slot in one of these videos. So let's talk about it anyways, and that game is LA Noire. So I've spoken of LA Noire a lot. This is one of Rockstar's best games that does not get enough love in my opinion. It reminds me a lot of the movie LA Confidential. That's what it feels like. It's got that stylisticness of, you know, 1930s, you know, blue suede shoes or devil in a blue dress, that kind of, not quite film noir, but that detective style where you're going in investigating. And in this one, they've updated it a little bit. It has all the DLC, everything. Now, it's not on disc, but it does allow you to download it. You can get a micro SD card, save it to your Switch. And this also, unfortunately, I believe it removed the X for doubt and they renamed it to something else, which that's a bit of a downer, but everything else is here. Those Sony exclusive missions, the Xbox exclusive things, they're all around here on Nintendo, as well as some new cosmetics, things like that. And just the fact that this game is running on a Switch, you can take it handheld. It is such a fun game, but it's also got lulls in it. It's a very much a ebb and flow type thing. You start a case, you investigate the case, you start investigating the people, you get maybe a side mission, you get into another investigation, and then there's the climax where it usually involves running around shooting stuff. Some people don't like that. I do like that. I enjoyed this more than... Not that I enjoyed more, it's I enjoyed this as a next flavor, I guess, outside of Red Dead and outside of GTA. I really enjoyed that late 2000s Rockstar where we were getting things like Red Dead Redemption, GTA 4, LA Noire, Manhunt. All these kind of things were so cool. Instead, now we are trapped in Grand Theft Auto land. You know, we managed to get Red Dead Redemption 2, which was a damn prequel. I know people love that game to death, but at the end of the day, I don't understand how you can be so invested in a game where you know exactly how it's going to end. And yes, the journey's interesting, but I didn't feel it, guys. I enjoyed the game, don't get me wrong, but it was it did not hold a candle to the first one. And you know exactly what happens to Dutch. You know what happens to John Marsden. You know what's going to happen to Arthur. If you've ever played the first one, you know what happens to Arthur. Anyways, off my soapbox again. Alright, another one. This is super fun. It is really simple. It was sort of a step back for the series as a whole, though it really was a step forward in other regards compared to where it left off. And that game is Super Mario Party. So the last Mario Party that I remember, I think was Super Mario Party, or not Super Mario, was Mario Party 9, I want to say, or Mario Party. It's the one where you all are on the same area and you don't really roll the dice, and I think it was on the Wii U, but if it's 9, was it 10? Either way, I stopped after 8. But yes, Super Mario Party brought it back to its roots. The biggest problem with this game when it originally came out was that there was only 4 maps and there was no online co-op or online multiplayer. I want to say it launched around the same time the online service came out. They did eventually patch in a multiplayer mode with this. Like a year and a half later, it just came out of nowhere. They announced it in a direct, and then bam, suddenly you have multiplayer in Super Mario Party. This game helped my wife and I get to Hawaii for our honeymoon. My wife does not like flying, and so this was a nice distraction. My big complaint with it is that it does not allow you to play it without having to use the stupid Joy-Cons and turn them sideways. And using this, yeah, I complain about my hands being hurting on the Switch too, but using those little controllers, I'd like to at least have an alternative. Like, hey, I have multiple Joy-Cons. I have multiple, not multiple Pro controllers, but I have multiple ways of playing it without having to use that. But what are you going to do? And it was a fun Mario Party. It's not great. It definitely, once again, not having the multiplayer kind of killed it. But a lot of these games are designed for local co-op, and it really does a good job of that. So still one worth picking up. There's better ones now. There's other ones on the Switch. But I still have a soft spot for that game myself, just because I played it so much. Alright. Getting down to the last few. So I'm going to give another complete obvious one to mention, but hey, what are you gonna do? Like I said, I'm going through all the Switch games I have, so it helps make filler. But this is such a good game. If you don't pick it up, you really should, especially now that there's a new version of it that came out that has this one on the disc too. But that is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Yes, I know, I talked about Mario Wonder and Breath of the Wild in the same video, but Breath of the Wild is such an amazing game. I think it's better than Tears of the Kingdom. It has a better story, a better arsenal of weapons. Yes, it doesn't have a better map. The underworld and the sky world are very, very cool. I would love to see Breath of the Wild's mechanics in Tears of the Kingdom's world, especially because Tears of the Kingdom reintroduced dungeons, and in one dungeon in particular, I would love to see a future Zelda game really take inspiration from. But as far as Breath of the Wild, the magical, the mythical beasts, the open world, the fact that you could go anywhere, I talk about this all the time, but exiting the cave in Breath of the Wild and just seeing the breadth of the world in front of you, and then finding out that you were in the tutorial area, and then it opens up even more, is a very, very magical game. The only other game that gave me the same level of that freedom and exploration was Skyrim, and I feel like Breath of the Wild really took that sort of idea and implemented it into a Zelda game. You've heard Miyamoto and others say how this was sort of the big callback to the original Zelda game as far as just exploration goes, and I see it, and I am fully bought in. People dislike the way the weapons break. I can tell you, I never really came into that being that annoying, but I'm also someone that will go and test the fringe of the mechanics by using what I have. So I went and I killed one of the big Enox creatures with the bombs early on, and I got into one of those temples that was a late game temple where I took on an enemy that was way harder than I should have been able to take down, but I managed to take him down with the mechanics and got like a level 30, level 40 weapon when I was still around level 10-ish, or that kind of thing. And it didn't necessarily break the game, but it gave me the tools to be able to go anywhere out in the world. And I just, it's, as much as it's not a perfect game, there's too many Korok seeds, there's too much with using the cooking, and all that slows it down. I don't like the dialogue. I wish it had temples, but as far as just pure exploration goes and fun, and yeah, there should be more music, but I loved it. I love that game a lot. It is up there with one of my top 5 Zeldas. It's probably my 3rd favorite Zelda. I've spoken to it before. It was on my top 50 games of all time, and it is so good. It came out on the Switch 2. The Switch 2 version actually has the Switch 1 version of it on the cart, which is something weird Nintendo's doing. I'm not sure why. I wish they would just release a version that had all the DLC on it, because then I would have actually bought it, but what are you going to do? Alright, last 2 here. This is actually a game that I was not a huge fan of, but you guys might be. And also, I always put a grain of salt in some of the games that I covered while I was not forced, but while I was forcing myself to cover a game a week. So sometimes the game that made necessarily it had irked me, or I wasn't enjoying it, or wasn't in the right space for, I might have graded a little too harshly. Though remembering what I did about this game, I think I'm still agreeing with my sentiment. That was Sea of Solitude Director's Cut. So the first thing I remember seeing about this game was it was in an Xbox Developer Showcase, I want to say in 2018. The lady who was presenting was a wonderful story, and really I liked her story and her talking about her passion about the game, especially because around then no one really had any passion for anything they were making. So hey, you know what? If someone's passionate about their game, I want to check it out. Unfortunately, it's a big thing that's centered around the stages of grief and dealing with an abusive family, and I think it's a daughter and her sister and her parents, and something's awful's happening, and she's depressed, and it really is, it's more of Celeste kind of thing, but even less gameplay. And you're more or less traveling through these various locales, avoiding this, I think, squid monster, going through these inky black areas, and I don't know. I had recently played the first Death Stranding, so maybe I was on inky squid monster overload, but just didn't appeal to me. It's still a fairly affordable game to find. I think you can still find it brand new. I want to say it was a limited runs release, maybe, or at least they published it. It's from Quantic Dream. But yeah, one you guys might be interested in. It's very heavy. It's interesting. It's unique. I can tell you that it's definitely an indie game through and through. Just not my cup of tea. All right, and the last game we're going to talk about here was a game that I was super excited to pick up, largely because it reminded me of a series that I absolutely adored growing up, and the fact that it was multiplayer, and that is Disney's Illusion Island. Now, I don't know if this is necessarily supposed to be a direct sequel to Castle of Illusion, World of Illusion, Land of Illusion, those games, but in my mind, I think it is. Now, it uses the new art style that they came out with for Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy that was, I want to say, circa the mid-2010s, which, love it or hate it, that's what they're doing now. I'm not a huge fan of it, but also it could be worse, especially having a 3-year-old daughter. I've kind of seen a lot of the art styles, and I think the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse one's a little bit more annoying, but I digress. This is a very cool game because you can play as all 4 characters. It is simultaneous co-op, and it is one of those games where when I was at that convention the other week, I saw a dad who was talking about wanting to play games with his daughter, and they had talked about playing Untitled Goose Game, and I told him, this is a game you should look for because this is something that would be fun. You know, something like Kirby Star Allies, this one, like there's not that many of them that aren't super over the top violent and child appropriate. But this is a good one. This is one to check out. And I remember it kind of came out of nowhere. It was, I think it had a $40 release tag. And it goes on sale all the time. It's on other systems. So something I would recommend grabbing, picking it up, and playing it. And it's a fun one. It's a fun one, and it's a fun couch co-op game to play with your friends. And there you have it. That is another 10 games you should immediately go out and spend all the monies on. Thank you guys so much. I still can't believe we blew past 5,000 so quickly. The previous Switch video I did gangbusters, up to 10,000 views in like 2 weeks. You guys are nuts. The fact that I did a video covering the Roseville Gaming Expo, which I knew was not going to do well, but it still did a decent amount of views, and I got another 60 subs this week. Thank you guys. I cannot be more grateful for all of you. I am just looking forward to the future, looking forward to still making these videos, getting some collaborations now with some other YouTubers that I'm connecting with now post the convention, and it's wonderful. It's a great time. Thank you all so much. As a reminder, I release a new video every Tuesday. It's been so nice getting a hold of you. Take care.